This is the Son of the Law podcast. Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to the Son of the Law podcast. I'm your host, Jay Christopher, and I want to start with a quick thank you to all of our listeners. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us there. 5-star reviews are always appreciated. Comments, interacting and engaging with the show means so much to us. You can find us on Instagram at Son of the Law Podcast. And I am always looking for candid feedback on the show. So if you want to give me some of that, I'd appreciate that. Send me a link or a Gmail at sonofthelaw.podcast@gmail.com. Also, I'm excited to announce that Complete Auto Service in Richmond, Missouri is going to be our very first sponsor. So really looking forward to getting to work with Mark and Amanda Guy, who own that shop and have worked with me for years on my vehicles. I love them. I trust them. And over the coming weeks, I'm going to be working on developing an actual advertisement, which is something that's new for me, but really excited to have a partner. Also, Brandon Steffen with Cutting Edge Landscapes has agreed to partner with me as well. And I am thrilled to work with them because Cutting Edge Landscapes has a great household name here in the Lawson community. I've been friends with Brandon for a long time, know that the work that they do is incredible, and just super thrilled to be working with them. So you're going to be on this journey with me as I work to craft and create advertisements that align with the Son of the Law brand and the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish here on this show. And I'm really looking forward to go on this journey with you together. So joining me in my home today are Stan Dobbins and Tosha Jackson. Welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
So glad to have you here. We have a treat for the Lawsonites. We're going to talk with Stan and Tosha today about the Lawson Bridge. And the reason you two are here is because of your respective roles with the city, but also your knowledge of the topic, and then the knowledge of the history. Have a really candid dialogue about where this project has been, where we are today, and maybe where things are going. Before we get there, I want to talk with you all about, I want to introduce these folks. Stan, your job title is the Lawson City Administrator. Yes?
Correct.
All right. In my brief search of this, here's what the city website has to say about your job. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Supervise general day-to-day operations of the city.
True.
Yeah. Administer personnel programs for the city.
True.
Okay. Ensure fiscal responsibility and budgeting.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Planning and decision-making.
Yes.
This one's my favorite. To act responsibly as a custodian of public trust by following the prudent man rule of fiduciary responsibility.
That's very accurate and true. And I have a thing I say. I have a thing that I tell the board all the time. I appreciate them and I appreciate them and want to follow their guidance, which is what I do. But I'm a very conservative person.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to my mom and dad lived here their whole lives.
Yep.
And so every tax penny, I don't say dollar, I say every tax penny is very important to me because I know what, what they paid in. And I think all of our citizens have a right to feel that their money is being protected and spent to improve their lives.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then you're all resident Lawsonite, yes? I think you went to high school with my father-in-law.
Name?
Melvin Curitin.
Oh, yeah.
You know Melvin?
Know Melvin real well.
Okay.
Great guy. Great guy.
Very good. I was talking with him the other day, and I was asking, like, maybe when you went to school together. So do you want to say when you graduated, or do you want to leave that for the...
No, it's no problem. I'm very proud of Lawson. I was born and raised here.
Okay.
I was born here in 1959.
Okay.
I graduated from Lawson High School, did my whole 12 years here in 1977. And again, it's really the reason I'm back here now. I was retired, and they pulled me back in.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's as I've looked around and talked with you, right? This is the first time we've met. So I don't just invite anybody, right? I want to know kind of what I'm getting myself into. And everybody I've talked with has basically said you're just kind of an all-around good dude. So I not set the bar too high here, but glad to have you here and glad to have you with us.
Thank you very much. I do my best. I believe in God, and I believe in family, and I believe in friends. And I when we say friends, you know, I'm talking long-term friends.
That's wonderful.
And I have a lot of those here in Lawson.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Welcome, Tosha Jackson, Marketing and Events Coordinator for the City of Lawson, yes?
Yes, that's my official title. But
Okay.
the title on the outside of my door actually says Chaos Coordinator, which might be slightly more accurate.
I like that. Public affairs type, yes?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and then chaos can come in many forms when
Organized chaos
Yes.
is what I do.
you are a resident expert and knowledgeable voice of Lawson happenings.
Oh, that's a very good compliment. Thank you.
Okay. And then I kind of got here as the entrepreneurial type, right? You've done you've done some activities that are unique to our little town here, and I've really always appreciated following you. While I've never been to one of your yoga classes, always inspired to see folks getting together and doing those things.
Yes, everybody can benefit from yoga, so you might check it out sometime.
I have done some yoga in the past, but that's another story. I once wanted to try hot yoga. Have you ever done
don't do
hot
that.
yoga?
No, I have done it, and I don't recommend it. It is not for me.
All right. You also formerly, as other people may know you as, you used to do some typographic stuff.
Yep.
Oh, very good.
Yep, I've had several businesses over the last 15, 20 years, and I've kind of put most of those aside for the most part to focus on my role at the city full time. And about the only thing I do outside of the city role is the yoga. So I do a couple freelance yoga things, but other than that, I really am focusing on the city and all of the great things I get to do there.
Well, I love it. I love it. And then your son, Riker, I was trying to think times that we met, because I met you probably, how old's Riker now?
15.
15.
Going on 27.
Right? Yeah, I always just tell my daughters were 12 going on 35.
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy,
Yep.
crazy to think that, I mean, I think I coached him maybe 1 year in soccer.
Probably.
Yeah, it was just like 4, maybe 5.
Mhm.
And so
He was more interested in talking to the other players versus playing with the other players.
I love it.
This is why he doesn't do sports.
Yeah, you get to know your kids and they're all unique and different.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
very
he's a
good.
bigger talker than he is a sports player.
I love it. I love it. But I also just really appreciate your investment in this community as well. And I'm glad to have you here too.
Yep. Yeah, I live here, and this is where I wanted to have my family, and I'm so grateful to get to pour my energy and my talents into making this community as best as I can.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right, let's go quick here. Tell us about yourselves, maybe how you were born and raised, how people might know you otherwise, maybe some ties to the Lawson area.
Okay. Like I said, I was born here in 1959, actually in the old Excelsior Hospital. Lived here my entire life till I was about 24. I decided I wanted to be a police officer. We have a lot of law enforcement officers on my mom's side, and I started in Excelsior Springs. Worked there for 5 years, and I wanted to raise a family, and to do that, I needed a better salary
Mhm.
and better benefits, especially. So I went to Gladstone, Missouri, and became a police officer there.
Okay.
Worked up through the ranks there I was a division commander. It's kind of odd. You kind of have to understand the Missouri's retirement system.
Mm-hmm.
It's called loggers. Well, loggers, your retirement is based off of the best 3 consecutive years in the last 10-year period.
Yep, high 3. Yep.
Yeah. Well, we had some tornadoes come through. And let me tell you, I had some really great salaries during those tornado years. And fortunately, nobody got killed in them, so I felt really good.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where if I didn't retire, I was going to start losing like $1,000 a month.
Oh,
and
boy.
I said, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So
Time to go find something new to do.
Yeah. So after 30 years here, I retired and became the deputy chief of police and then the chief of police real quickly in Branson, Missouri.
Really?
Yeah. And did another 10 years there. So I've got 40 total years in law enforcement. And I will say that probably, I said this the day I signed my contract, the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life was agree to become their city manager.
In Branson?
Yeah. I had my bachelor's degree from Park University in criminal justice administration. I got my master's degree in public administration from Lincoln University, and with I had a minor also in sociology.
Mm-hmm.
And so the city council had the idea that they wanted someone who was responsible. It goes back to that. I
Sure.
believe every tax penny.
If you can't trust a man who's been in law enforcement for 40 years, who can you trust?
They very much want someone who was responsible. They want someone who I can't sit on my hands.
Yeah.
I like to get things done. So they came to me and they said, "We want to make you our city manager." And I said, "You people are nuts." But I did it because I felt like I could do more for the police department and the city as a whole.
Awesome.
From that position. So I did that for off and on between about 7 years. And I was doing both jobs at the same time for 2, which was insane, I want you to know.
Yeah.
But it was a tremendous opportunity, a very unique city. The population, I always laughed about this. The population of Branson was like 12,000 people, but the daily population was closer to 85 to 90,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
And we
all the visitors.
We really ran a city that had on average 9 million people were there every year.
That's incredible.
And you're doing that, trying to juggle everything up in the air because you're still running it as a city that, you have to maintain streets, you have to maintain water, the whole 9 yards. And so it was a bit of a challenge, but you get a lot of national attention and some good, some bad.
Sure.
I will say that I never had a normal year. Unfortunately, we had the duck boat accident where we had 17 people drown.
Yeah.
We had a flood the year before that we had 3 people drown that were up visiting with us. And we had COVID hit us, and we had economic downturn hit us during those time frames. And we came through it all with honestly, and this is probably one of the things I'm most proud of. In all of those years, we were recognized by the National Finance Directors Association as a gold star city because we were able to maintain our budget, actually grow our budget, and still function while other cities were having mass chaos.
That's fantastic. And then how'd you wind up back here in Lawson?
Well, I retired. I'm a real straightforward, plain spoken guy, and I'm going to tell you, I dealt with more people that I thought were ethically challenged and morally challenged as a city administrator than I ever did as a cop.
Okay. Wow.
So I'd had enough, and I retired because I was more than to that point.
So I'm counting retirements now. This is 3?
Yeah. I have 3 retirements. So I retired.
Working on your 4th one now with the city of Lawson.
Yes. And I was sitting on my sofa, fat, dumb, and happy is how I like to say it.
Sure.
And I just told my wife, I said, "Man, I'm bored." And my phone rang. It was a friend from here in Lawson, and he said, "Stan, City of Lawson's looking for a city administrator. And I said, good for them.
Yeah.
Do you want me to help you or something?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, I think you're perfect for the job. And I said, well, I appreciate you calling.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Bye. And I hung up, and I looked at my wife and I said, God might be playing another trick on me, but I said, that was a phone call about me taking over the city administrator's job in Lawson. She goes, oh, and you told him no? And I said, well, I didn't really tell him anything, but I kind of indicated no, because I'm not sure that's really what I'm supposed to do. Well, 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. And this time it was the mayor, Greg Taylor. And we had a good talk. And Greg told me some of the challenges that were occurring. He told me that they needed a seasoned city administrator and someone who'd been in government for some time.
Yeah.
And I really felt like God was telling me, hey, Stan, or hey, dummy, really, it's what he called me. He says, hey, dummy, you have an opportunity here to pay back the city that gave you so much.
Sure.
And I say that because, and I apologize, but I'm going to tell you a story. My mom died here when I was 11 years old.
Oh, boy.
In a house fire.
Really?
Yeah. We lived at 541 East 5th Street, right down the road here on the corner of 5th and Clark.
Sure.
My dad worked nights at General Motors. I was, kind of alone a lot. But I promise you I never went hungry because the neighbors kept an eye on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I promise you I never did anything wrong because the neighbors kept an eye on me. But
as it does in a small town.
Yes. But the Petticord family lived across the street, and they were very instrumental in making sure that I was always taken care of. But I went to school and kind of wasn't sure, where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
I had a teacher in high school named Mrs. Lewis who lived up the road from us. And Mrs. Lewis, one day in class, when I was a freshman, she asked us all, she said, what do you want to be in your lives? And I wanted to be a policeman. I'd always wanted to be a policeman.
Yep.
And I kind of, you say that and you get the snicker from the kids. And she said, Stan, if that's what you want to be, that's what you'll be, because there's nothing that you can't do if you want to do it.
Yep.
And throughout high school, she was always there, talking to me, encouraging me. And this goofy little kid, I mean that sincerely, from Lawson, Missouri, had the opportunity. I went to college. I graduated summa cum laude, and I was a dummy in high school. I mean, I shouldn't say dummy, but I was middle of the road. I was not top honors or anything like that.
Sure.
I graduated summa cum laude with a 4.0 grade point average, with both my bachelor's and my master's degrees. And I had the opportunity to attend a very prestigious law enforcement school called the Southern Police Institute at the University of Louisville.
Okay.
You have hundreds of people you're competing against that are from all over the world. They come to go to this program. And I graduated as a valedictorian of my class and a dean scholar.
Wow.
And all this other fancy stuff that I got hangs on my wall. And then I had the opportunity to go to the FBI National Academy, where you have 250 people from all over the world, from England, New York, LA, everywhere. And I graduated number one in my class. And they call it, I was recognized as a distinguished graduate.
Yeah.
And so I tell everybody, I mean, I talk to kids a lot. Two of my daughters are teachers. And I tell them, there's nothing that can stop you but you.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to sometimes do it.
I love that.
And you got to believe in yourself. And that's what Mrs. Lewis gave me. And so whatever I can do to pay back to this community, I want to do.
That's awesome.
So when Greg called me, it was God telling me, dummy, go pay back. And
come figure this out.
So yeah. So my mom and dad are buried here. I'll be buried here. My brother still lives here. I want to do whatever I can for this community.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. I mean, I've learned so much about you just in that few minutes that I'm impressed.
It's been a fun ride,
right?
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Thank you, and welcome to my home. I'm glad to talk to you today. Tosha, a little bit more about you.
Where do you want me to start?
Born and raised here?
No. Me and my husband are actually both from a very, very, very small town I promise you've never heard of. It's called Galt, Missouri.
Galt, Missouri.
Yep, G-A-L-T.
You
Galt,
are correct.
Missouri.
Never heard of that.
If you know where Trenton is, Chillicothe, those were our towns.
Okay.
So when you went to town to get gas or groceries, it was Trenton.
Okay.
But we both wound up in the city for career opportunities. And of course, I went to college at UMKC, graduated with a graphic design degree. And when we had our son in 2010, living in the city, we said, we've got 5 years to get out of here because we did not have any intention of sending our kid to school in the city. We grew up, we both had classes. My husband's class was 35 kids. I had 22 kids. We were certain that we didn't want to go that small, but we definitely wanted to raise him in a smaller town with better opportunities than what we had. And so we kind of magically just landed on Lawson. We were literally, we hated the city so much that we drove home is what we call it.
Home.
We drove home every weekend to visit and to play with the cows and ride the tractors and the four-wheelers and do all the country things.
Sure.
And then we would return to the city on Sunday night and go to work on our jobs on Monday.
How about
and
that?
So one of the weekends that we were on our way back from up home, my husband, normally we took I-35, obviously. My husband said, well, let's take 69 highway. And I said, why? And he goes, I don't know. I just want to see what's down this highway. And I'm like, this is weird. And so we get to Lawson and he goes, well, I wonder what this town's like. And he turns into into D highway. And I go, what are we doing? Like this is not the direction to home. And he goes, well, I've been looking online at houses.
Oh.
And I went, oh, okay.
There you go.
So then we started researching, and at that time, Lawson had just been announced as a blue ribbon school, and one thing led to another, and we bought a house here, and we got ourselves out of the city about 4 years earlier than we anticipated.
That's awesome.
So Riker was only about 10 months old when we moved up here, and we've built our life here. So at that time, I was running my own business from home. That was kind of a juggle between being like half stay-at-home mom, half work-at-home mom.
Sure.
But I had a lot of great connections here in the town. I had a lot of good babysitters that would take them on whenever mom needed to go do work. We had to rely on some babysitters.
That's right. So it's home. I'm getting the theme now. It's home. It's work.
Yep.
Yeah. What does play look like?
We did a lot of play dates. We did start Riker at the preschool a semester early because he, as an only child, I wanted to make sure that he was being socialized with other kids.
Sure.
So we got him in at the Learning Lighthouse and just had a really great experience with them and made lots of friends and really connecting with the other moms in the community. Because when we moved here, we had no family here. We had no friends. We knew nobody. So it was really a great opportunity just to start building a friend group and just learning all about the community and what it had to offer and everything like that. So
Love it.
So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming today as well, and welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. So we do lighthearted questions here on the show. It's a great way to get to know folks. And I think I may know how you do some of these things based on your stories, but we'll see. Ford or Chevy? Rapid fire.
Chevy.
Ford.
Okay.
Bronco.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Is Paramount an option?
Sure. Yeah. You pick your
Paramount
pleasure.
Plus.
These are your question, right? Tucked in or untucked?
Untucked.
Boxers or briefs?
Briefs.
I don't know how to answer this question.
That's a little more information than we were ready for. I love it. Okay. What's on your playlist?
Ashley McBride.
Ashley McBride.
You're going to love this.
Let's go.
Okay, dude. I've got everything on my playlist from Tone Loc.
Okay.
All the way.
The Wild Thing, Tone Loc?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
All the way to Dolly Parton.
He might be my spirit animal, dude.
And I'm eclectic. I love a broad selection of music. And, I've even got some classical, but I prefer just, 1 minute I'm listening to rap.
Yeah.
And the next minute I'm listening to the most country music song you could ever believe. And then I'm over on some Aerosmith. And
that's awesome.
That's just the way I am.
Crushing this answer. Crushing it. All right. Philosophical question. Is a city successful when it grows or when the people who already live there thrive?
It's both.
I agree.
You have to have growth or your city's going to die.
Yeah.
We can look at the dinosaurs and see that. It's pretty simple.
All right.
But you also have to make sure that, and that growth should help the people that are living here thrive.
Yeah.
And allow them the opportunity to relieve them of some of the burden, so to speak, of supporting the community. So that's what you want to do. You want to look at the history of the town. It's not like I would not want to bring in heavy industry into this town.
Yeah.
But I would want to bring something clean and supportive into this town that would give and afford people to have jobs for the future, our kids that are down here at the high school, and keep families together.
Brilliant.
So,
Tosha, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, even before Stan came, that was something we at the city had been kind of preaching from the choir. You know, we want to grow, but we want to grow in a purposeful way.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be the next, Kearney where we've got, housing additions just exploding left and right and then creating traffic problems and the schools struggling to keep up with the amount of population growth. We want to grow in a very purposeful way. We want to grow slow and steady and with the right types of housing divisions. We want to grow with the right type of industries and job growth. Just making sure that we're trying to keep the community special and not just survive, but thrive.
That's awesome. Okay, let's segue here. The Lawson Bridge. I want to set this up in a way that I think might be familiar to our listeners, particularly those in the Lawson area, particularly those who have been on the Lawson Announcements Facebook page. The drive to host you all today was, my observation in what I saw on that page, where it seems like every couple of months something comes up, the bridge is mentioned, and then somebody says some grumbling, and then there's 20-some, 30-some, 100-some comments later, but a lot there. So it's frustrating for me because I'm not necessarily read into all of this stuff. I just know I live here and it's been kind of a drag. But you don't have to read much to know that everybody's feeling that. So another thing is, to talk to you here today is I don't really feel like a part of the solution, but more part of the problem if I'm observing this and not saying something about it or doing something about it. So I wanted to use this platform to host you, have some candid conversation about it, and then, let the public decide after we've had a good chat, about the status of things, where we are as a community and what we're doing to, move in a state of progress. Okay. Go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, no, sure. Ed, believe me when I tell you, nobody could be more frustrated than we are at City Hall.
Yeah, that's the general perspective that I have had, or a perception that I've had. I think there are opportunities for folks to be informed, but in the sense of, pleading my own ignorance and then my own, let's say I'll die on the same hill as everyone else. I haven't gone to the public meetings, right? I haven't gone. I'm not going to city council meetings. Sometimes that's the only place I'm seeing any information.
Right.
And so in the absence of my going and encouraging other people to go, this is a way to get personally informed, but also share it with all the Lawsonites who choose to listen to our show. So, so dealing with that perception is kind of tricky,
sure,
right? People are frustrated. Why are they frustrated? Well, access to the campground, access to City Lake is off. Everyone who works and lives outside of the Lawson area, they're distracted and detoured around the city. was asking some folks in the community about this. Schools impacted because we can't send buses that way. You can't send EMS across that road anymore.
That's the key to me. You can't get a police car there quickly. You can't get a fire truck there quickly, and you can't get an ambulance there quickly.
Yeah.
All of these things I have said to the railroad.
Yep. So, and then there's also like a growing concern. This has not been a overnight deal. This is starting to get really, really frustrated for a lot of people. And actually, there's an irony here. I think we are approaching, or we're right at the 2-year mark for the bridge being closed.
2 years tomorrow, if I'm correct. Isn't that right, Tosha?
Yep. May 3rd, 2023 is when it was closed.
Okay. And then
And we had no notice. The city was not given any notice. They literally just showed up and they said, we're closing down your bridge.
MoDOT.
Yep,
by the way.
MoDOT.
MoDOT did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's who does bridge. They do bridge inspections.
Right.
And they were traveling, doing their bridge inspections. And again, I rode my bicycle across this bridge.
Yeah.
It's been there a long time.
Yeah.
MoDOT showed up and examined it, and quite frankly, the wooden timbers under are rotted.
Yeah.
And it was bad enough to support a car, but we were just talking about a fire truck.
Sure.
It would probably have fallen through it.
Yeah. So that's where we are, right? We want to know what the city's done. We want to know the history of this thing. Sure. Let's just tell the narrative. And then my hope is you can encourage people to continue to go to city meetings and whatnot, but you can also share the show with them and say, you want to see what we've been up to? Listen to this show.
Yeah.
Here's the effort, right?
Right.
This is what we've been trying to do, and you can hear it, and you can hear all the questions that you have answered.
I will come on your show every week if you want me to give an update. But I'm going to tell you this, and we'll start. First off, what a lot of people don't understand is the city does not own the bridge.
Right.
It is owned by the railroad.
Yeah.
The railroad does not have to do anything. They can sit there and let that bridge rot and stay closed forever if they wish to.
Okay.
Now, we as a city have taken the steps to work with the railroad to try to get a new bridge in place. And this started way before it got condemned.
Right.
As well. Tosha, when was...
So the summer I started at City of Lawson in 2019, we actually had an intern, and that intern was cleaning out some old filing cabinets and stumbled upon some city council minutes from 1971.
Wow.
Where the city council had invited the railroad to the city council meeting, and they were imploring, basically begging in 1971 for the railroad to replace that bridge. That is how long this fight has been happening. So when I see people on Facebook that are saying, well, the city hasn't been doing anything, they're not trying, I get so frustrated because we literally have public record that this isn't a battle that's been going on for a couple years. This is a battle that's been going on for decades. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the bridge was built in the 1890s and it was rehabbed in 1941.
Okay.
So that gives you a little bit of perspective on how old of a bridge we are talking.
So there's been repairs and things made to it, right? But we're long past the ability to repair this sucker. It needs to be redone.
So when MoDOT came in and did the closure in 2023, the photos that they released as part of that report were terrifying. The I-beams underneath it, some of them were completely compromised where there was none of the vertical structure was completely rusted out. And on one end of the bridge, the entire span, the I-beams had actually bent down about 2 to 3 inches. So that was caused by vehicles that were way, way overweight.
So
going
it was
over
already collapsing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was only a matter of time before that bridge came down and somebody got hurt. And then we would be scrambling to, emergency situation.
Yeah. And just for the sake of qualifying that, I mean, those are the types of decisions that you want a city to make. Those are the types of decisions that you want MoDOT to make, or the railroad, right? You want them to come in and inspect. You want them to make decisions that ensure public health, ensure public safety, because if you don't, you compromise public trust.
Yeah.
And we don't want that.
No.
The
Now,
tough thing with this situation is just that the railroad doesn't care, because if that bridge is there or if that bridge isn't there, it doesn't affect their day-to-day operations, and they could care less.
yeah. And I mean, I can already hear the people getting frustrated, right, in my mind.
Don't.
Because they disagree. Don't, right? There's some disagreement on, I drove across that bridge yesterday and it was fine, or whatever, and it was fine. And we can't qualify professional decision making around engineering and these things with the guy or girl who just drove their SUV across it and said it's fine.
That was one of the contributing factors to why we released the photos, because we knew that we ourselves were blindsided when MoDOT came in and shut it down so suddenly. But we knew people would be equally frustrated. And, when MoDOT sent us those photos and their official report as to why they closed it down, we debated, do we share this with the public or not?
Absolutely.
And we decided that, we were trying to take some of the heat off of us, because people were still thinking that it was the city that shut it down.
Sure.
And we released those photos along with the report, and we said, this is coming from MoDOT. This is why this bridge is not safe to drive across.
Yeah.
We had been telling people for decades that we thought it was not safe to drive across and that it needed replaced. We wanted to replace it before it did collapse.
Yep. Would you be willing to share that stuff with us?
Yeah.
Again?
It's actually, I could go back to our Facebook page, because actually yesterday I did a search for the keyword Ron Bridge on the city's Facebook page, and those photos came up. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to.
yeah, they're pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I'd love to push that and share that here as well. So very good. So is the bridge being monitored and maintained while it's closed? I mean, I know there's barriers and kind of keeping stuff off of it, but I'm guilty. I walked across it.
I think you're safe to walk across it.
Yeah.
No, we're not letting anyone drive on it.
Right. Who put the bollards up?
The county.
The county did that.
Yeah,
Okay.
MoDOT had the county come out, and because they were originally going to literally put a pile of gravel in front of it.
Okay.
And we were like,
That's a ramp.
it was like, y'all, like, people are either going to ramp it or they're going to come out and steal the gravel or come out and push it aside and then continue across. So they very quickly realized that they had to put some kind of permanent barricade, and they went up there with a major I-beam and welded it into place. So,
Sure. Yeah. And I appreciate that. As much as it irritates me, I appreciate it.
yeah, you put a barricade out, somebody's going to move it.
Right.
You put gravel up there, I'm going to get on my 70 Honda and jump it.
Yeah. to pull out the old two-stroke, right?
We used to, the Sheltons used to own the house right there on D Highway, and they had a 70cc Honda and a Cushman scooter, and we would race them back here to the old tank pond.
Okay.
Which is what this was.
Right.
I don't know how many people know that.
Yep.
But
Yep. We've talked about that on the show, actually.
yeah, we would race back to there. We'd do time trials. And see
who could do it fastest.
See who could do it the fastest. And so, yeah, that was a challenge if you put some gravel there.
Sure. But, so I'm counting jurisdictions, right? There's the Lawson community. There is MoDOT. There's the county that's involved now. There's the railroad. And I mean, it's a who's on first situation, right? Everybody's kind of pointing at one another, but we got to get some progress made.
Technically, there is also now the Federal Highway Commission.
Okay.
And the reason they're here, this will kind of move you a little bit forward in your timeline. We obviously didn't have the money to throw up a new bridge.
Right.
And the railroad wasn't going to spend a dime on a new bridge.
Is that still their perspective?
Well, almost.
Okay.
What they agreed to do was the railroad agreed if the city would help build the bridge and take over maintaining the bridge after it was built, then they would pay 20% of the cost to build a new bridge.
Okay.
But
that came with some restrictions some caveats.
Okay.
It does. And it also came with the fact that you're talking about over a $5 million bridge.
Okay.
It's over $5 million to rebuild this bridge.
And that's a lot of money for any city, for any municipality. And I'm thinking back, it was a dozen years ago. I was on the park board, and we were still dealing with the capital investment. I call it capital investment lightly, of putting lighting in at the ball fields.
Right.
I mean, and I don't even know if that was $100,000 project, right? And we had financed that for years, trying to, build in the future of the community and make sure we had a place for our people to play ball and spend time after, work and whatnot for community-based sort of leagues and stuff. But I mean, $5 million, you might as well say that's impossible.
You could not do it with the city's budget.
Right.
So
what is the city's budget?
Well, normally or right now?
Well, I mean, I'd say just normally to give us a
normal budget is around $2.5-3 million.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so you're running an entire city with $2.5 million, and so you're talking 2 times, 3 times the city's normal operating budget to fix one problem.
Correct.
Again, that's not realistic. That's not possible.
It can't happen.
Okay.
I mean, I can't bankrupt the city for one bridge.
Yeah, and the people who live here, related to the question before, do you focus on a community thriving, or do you focus on the people who live here?
Correct.
Right? You don't want to grow and cut off the thriving ability for the people here because of one problem.
Correct. And again, it's very frustrating. Well, to help with that, of course, you start to reach out to your partners who have more money than we do.
Sure.
And so there were a couple of politicians here in town. I remember Manuel Cleaver was one of them. I can't recall who the other was. Do you remember, Tosha?
Not off the top of my head. I know Matt Nolger was working every angle he could possibly
Yeah.
find.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they agreed to put the bridge on a list of, hey, we'll get you money to build your bridge.
Okay.
And of course, they were running for office.
Naturally.
And of course, we were on the list until they got elected, and then we fell off the list.
What do you know?
A
Imagine
miracle. It's just amazing. So that fell through.
Okay.
We did still have the commitment from the railroad that if we took it and we maintained it and we built it,
Yeah.
they would do 20%.
So again, 20%, $5 million is a $4 million city investment, $1 million railroad investment,
Basically, yeah.
and then the time to construct.
Right. And so we went back out and we were able to obtain a grant from that MoDOT manages. It's actually from the Federal Highway Department.
Okay.
MoDOT said, here you go. Now see if the railroad will build your bridge.
Okay.
So, and I'm sorry if I have to laugh here, but the railroad has been the most obnoxious thing I have ever dealt with in my life.
As a 40-year police officer and Branson city manager who dealt with more nefarious folks than he did in law enforcement, that's a pretty big statement, sir.
Let me tell you, the first thing that you learn about the railroad, and I dealt with the railroad in Branson, they were the same way. And just to give you a bit of a history lesson, I'm going back to the 1860s, 1870s, when the railroads started. The railroads were basically given the power of God in the United States.
Sure. Yeah.
And right or wrong,
Yeah.
they still have that power.
Yes.
And every single politician I talk to about our problem has told me the same thing. Yeah, we gave them way too much power back when during the initiation of the railroad and the rail industry, and somebody's going to have to take that on someday, but it's not me.
Yep.
And
Everybody says, not it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not it. No, thanks a lot. But anyway, so
And who are you taking on when you take on the railroad? Is it Warren Buffett? He owns a lot of them.
I don't know. All I can tell you is, we're dealing with Union Pacific.
Sure.
And I'm sure it's people that have a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
I will say that when I got here, we had this grant, and what bothered me was the grant was set to expire this August 28th, if we did not have the plans in place to replace it.
And did you say how much the grant was?
The grant was for 4.6, 4 point something
Million.
million.
Okay.
To build it. And so I started in on the railroad.
So we
And-
have 4.6 million
well,
in a grant.
And first, that's another thing that I hear a lot that I
Yeah.
would like to clear up
Yeah,
if I could.
sure.
When I say that we have a grant for $4 million,
Yep.
yes, we have a grant for that. No, they do not just give you the money.
Right.
What you have to do is pay that up front, and then they reimburse you. So whenever our engineers work on the design of this grant, they then bill us, and we pay them what we agreed to pay them.
Yeah.
And then we have to submit that to to MoDOT to get our money back. And so, again, like I said, we don't have $4 million laying around. We pay as we go,
Right.
and get reimbursed, and then we pay we have the money. So it's a very liquid situation.
Yeah.
Nobody has given us $4 million
Yeah.
it is.
It's a construction loan, basically.
That's really what it is. And so when people say, "Oh yeah, they took the money and spent it on this," you can't. So please, those folks that say that, it's not true.
Okay.
Now, next.
Yeah. Before we move on from that,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the person, like the person I am, says logically, you have a grant, you got 4.6 million. Where and why? What's the barrier between getting a short-term loan, working with a financial institution? Like, what's the real problem there? How difficult is it to secure that temporary 4.6 to get it, knowing that the surety on the back end is so reliable?
Well, the biggest problem is that the city can only take on so much debt.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember this or not, but the city just went out for a $3 million bond project.
Right.
So according to, we have financial advisors that do their best to maintain the city's liquidity.
Sure.
And they have highly recommended that we are close to our debt ceiling and not to attempt to go and get another loan.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to damage our credit rating.
Yeah. That's all too familiar in today's political economy.
And so that's why it is the way it is.
Sure.
The good news is, and that's for another story, but that's another grant that we have I'm sorry, it's not a grant, it's the bond money that we have that we're getting ready to go out for bid on stormwater problem to help Noker Drive and Cardinal Circle and over on along 8th Terrace.
Okay.
So that's going to be about $1.4 million project, and then we'll take some money and fix some of the poor streets we have around here.
Yeah.
So that $3 million, quite frankly, goes quick.
I completely agree. Yeah. I mean, I've been in commercial real estate my entire federal career. And it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But when you're working at the scale that we are, it can be spent very wisely and still spent very quickly.
That's exactly true.
Yeah.
So we then started I started dealing directly with the railroad because I told you earlier, I like getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a hold of you don't get to talk to the railroad, by the way.
Right.
You have to talk to a engineering firm that the railroad hired to communicate with their engineers.
Yeah.
So I started talking with them and said, we have got to get moving. This is ridiculous. I can't believe this is still in this situation. And I was told very quickly that any plan we submit to the railroad will take a minimum of 5 weeks for them to return an answer to us. And I don't care if it is the engineer moving a line 1/8 of a centimeter. It will take 5 weeks.
Okay.
That's just their policy. It's written in the railroad handbook.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. And I thought, you're kidding. No, they're deadly serious. So we submit plans. We wait for 5 weeks. And what was really, to me, was really frustrating was we had an initial submission of plans, and they were given there's 3 different approval levels. The first set of plans were given the approval to start to the 30% plans,
Okay.
which would then be the design of the bridge up to 30%, and we could move forward. Well, the gentleman who did that for the railroad retired. He left.
Okay.
A new engineer came on and said, no, I don't like that, and rejected him. So now we're back to ground zero. So, again, this is insane. What are you people doing to me? And we go back and forth and back and forth. And I fortunately had the opportunity to develop a friendship with a gentleman who was very good friends with someone high up in the railroad. And this
Okay.
gentleman was kind enough to intervene on our behalf. And we have since seen some very positive movement. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, but I feel in my heart that we will have the 30% approved plans very soon, and we'll be able to go out for bid for replacing the bridge possibly this winter.
So that's the plan. And it just as we're talking through here, because this conversation will be memorialized in a, I don't want to say timeless process, right? But people will be listening to this in 6 months or whatever. So we're recording in May of 2025. And so when you say a 30% plan reviewed and approved in winter, you're talking at least 6 months from where we are today.
Correct.
So that's a good, I guess, a segue into a very simple question, but it's going to be a complicated answer, I know. So let's just say, what is the current plan for repairing, replacing the bridge following that 30% approval?
Once the railroad gives us, and the reason I can kind of give you a little bit more of an update, and the Board of Aldermen doesn't even know this yet, but I'm going to go ahead and share it here because I think they would want me to. Just yesterday, again, I apologize. I kind of have to take you back just a little bit. Once we get the approval from the railroad, and we submitted our last set of plans about 4.5 weeks ago, and that's why it's almost 5 weeks, so I should be getting the reply.
So you submitted the plan in late March, early April.
Right.
Okay.
And so the 5 weeks is about to be up. I should be getting a reply back from them, and more importantly, our engineers should be.
Yep.
Our engineers communicated yesterday, and I'm assuming they've had some communication with the railroad because they were very positive as well, that the railroad, the MoDOT was asking, hey, where are we at on this grant? And our engineers indicated that they felt that they would be getting positive news very shortly, and that once we get that, then we have to send it to MoDOT. MoDOT has to review it and approve it. Then they have to notify us that we can move forward. The next process, the part of moving forward, would be for us to start going out for bid. Once it goes out for bid, it's a finishing product, finishing the engineering to make everybody happy, so to speak.
So you come back in the fall or the winter, you've got a 30% approved plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to get you a schematic of the bridge length,
right,
width, structural need,
right?
It's going to get you mostly there.
Right.
You're going to go out for bid on that.
Start working with the contractor.
And then you'll have an architecture engineering firm finish the design.
Yes.
And then they'll cover the gap between the 30% to 100%.
Yeah.
And bid formally on the exact design at that time. Because it's impossible for somebody to say, this bridge is going to cost you X number of dollars on a 30% bid when you don't know the local conditions, you don't know what's under the ground.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
Well, we do know what's under the ground. Part of the process that we've had to go through is you have to have a company come in and do. They have to drill
Yeah.
into the soil. They have to make sure there are no Indian artifacts. And I neglected to tell you this, and it's one of the things that's just driven me crazy. If you look at the railroad track right now, that's what it is. It's a railroad track.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reason that we've been fighting with the railroad is they initially said, no, we want a bridge big enough to cover 3 railroad tracks, 2 roads, and a ditch.
Right, because the track is currently 1 train wide, and because I've walked along it, legally or not, you tell me, but
I don't know what you're saying.
there's enough trees cleared and there's enough width there to add a second track, add a piece of road or whatever, just in the easements and whatnot. And so looking forward, they want to be able to cover all that with a bridge. It's not just repairing and or replacing the existing.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's what's been frustrating because, quite frankly, I don't have the money to build a $10 million bridge, and a bridge that would cover 3 railroad tracks, 2 outer roads, a very large ditch,
and a partridge
is substantially larger, and they wanted a huge retaining wall. And this is where we really got into a rather heated debate, was because they don't own enough land to do this. And we said, you can't do this.
Yeah.
You don't own the land. And the city's not going to sell you the land to do this on.
Yeah.
And neither are these folks here.
And then you're talking easements and eminent domain, and they don't have any of that. And
they don't have any of that.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that. So
right. And so that's where, again, we had, I apologize, but we fought that for months.
Right.
And
when you say fight it for months, right? Like I'm helping people get on board with this, right? As I'm getting frustrated here listening. If it's 5 weeks to get a response for a question, it becomes a months-long conversation to receive feedback, answer that feedback, send your feedback in, and then lo and behold, 2.5 months has passed. 3 months has passed.
Stan, how many rounds of revisions have we gone through? We've reset this 5-week time clock multiple times. I mean, to my knowledge, it's probably been at least 4 or 5 rounds.
Right. I mean, that's how you get to 2 years.
I mean, we literally will send them the plans, and they'll go, oh, we need this tweaked 1 inch this way. So we go, okay. And we send that back to our engineers. Our engineers make all the changes. They give us the revised plans. They go to the railroad, and then we reset the 5-week time clock.
Right.
Yeah.
It is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's frustrating. That's frustrating for everyone. So I don't want to give too much away here, but I want to ask the question. I know people are I'm feeling it. When's it going to be done? Like, just like, I mean, like if we could just wave our magic wand, you're king for a day, everything goes just like it should. You get your 30% approved this winter or whatever. Are we starting a project in spring of 26? Are we starting in fall of 26?
I would say an honest, because that's just the way I am.
Sure.
I'm not going to pull punches.
Shoot it straight.
I can't make it any better than it is. I would say we would see construction start in late fall or early winter of 26.
26. Okay. So that's as the just timeline from where we're sitting here today. That's about 18 months from where we are. And we'll be approaching our 4-year anniversary at that point. But, it'll be good to know.
I'm not sure anniversary is the right word, because anniversary is something you celebrate. And this is the exact opposite of that. So whatever the dictionary says the opposite of anniversary or celebrate is what we're dealing with here.
Let's see. I'm going to look that up. What is the
opposite of anniversary?
The antonym.
The antithesis of anniversary.
Yes. Yeah. I think it'll definitely be a huge community celebration when that new bridge is open. I think we should have the governor come out and ribbons and ticker tapes, and everybody gets to drive over it.
I don't like politicians.
How about funeral? Lamentation?
Actually, funeral
Lamentations.
I think funeral works really good. We'll be coming upon the anniversary of the funeral of the bridge.
Yeah. Oh, I like lamentation. Okay. Very good.
It's extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
When I say this, I mean it from my heart. I know people are frustrated, but I guarantee you they're no more frustrated than I am.
No, that's obvious. And well, I don't know if it's obvious for them, but it is to me, right? I mean, I'm in the room with you here. I can feel the frustration. I can see the sentiment.
Give me this, and this is all I've ever asked. I will tell you. First off, we have 6 grants going right now. For
the city.
Yeah.
Not related to this project.
No. So I'm juggling a whole lot.
Right.
Now, having said that, I will tell you that we submitted our plans for Salem Road to MoDOT yesterday. So that's getting ready to start the extension. I can tell you that the trail around the lake over here, those plans are this close to being ready to launch. And I can tell you that there's going to be a sidewalk built along ROM out to this bridge.
Okay.
And that's getting ready to launch as well. And we're getting ready to go with the stormwater projects on the bonds. Saying that is that I got here and took over November 18th.
Of 24.
Right. We've gotten to this point now in a very short time.
Yep. And we made a tremendous amount of progress until November of 24, right? Like, I mean, this city has been in a remarkable, I don't want to call it revolution, because that would imply that there was something that we overthrew, right? But it was like we made a lot of progress in a very short period of time.
Right. And so
we've had very good leadership over the last decade.
So it's kind of hard. It's like growing hair.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see when you're the one growing the hair. You got to wait a bit, except for you.
As a man with a mustache like mine, and I get comments on it every day.
Sure. And it's just, I get very frustrated because things aren't getting done at the pace I would like for them to occur, but we are making progress as slow as it is.
Sure. Well, and that's something to celebrate, right? I mean, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here.
Correct.
I was talking with a friend this morning, and this is unrelated but related. I took over in a position at work, and I was a new manager early in my career, and came in thinking I'm going to change things, and made so many mistakes because all I saw was problems, and I treated everyone as if everything that we were doing was a problem. And as I grew and became a more seasoned manager, I realized the error of my ways. I could have and should have celebrated the 80%, 90% of things that were going so well that we could then build our, foundation, our relationship, our joy and celebration around, so that when we had to tackle those 10% or 20% of things that needed some adjustment, we could tackle those together, and we could do that optimistically and whatnot. And that's kind of where we are here. We've made a lot of progress. We have a lot to celebrate. And while this little black eye of a bridge project is, festering, we have a lot to be proud of. And you guys have been a big part of that.
And again, I am feeling very positive about the railroad bridge. And I know it's going to take a little while to get it built.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling very positive about the movement we have had in just the last few months. And again, I felt fortunate to find the right person in the railroad who now attends our meetings.
Yeah.
And who now they ask, "Sir, is that okay with you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
and so you found the right person when they've got that pressure on them too.
That's great. So right now, who holds the ultimate responsibility and accountability for the project's progress?
Ultimately, I always put myself there. I will tell you that, and that's probably what causes the frustration. Well, I feel ultimately responsible. I'm not the one that has to give the approval for the railroad bridge, which, again, it doesn't touch the tracks. The railroad has to tell us yes.
Yeah.
So that's where it is.
Yeah.
It's just getting them over that hump.
Right. Okay. So then leaning forward, right? Falling forward here in our frustration. We're eyeing let's call it end of year 26, for a project that would be nearing completion. What is being done to inform and update the public now regularly about this project? At the beginning, I kind of confessed that I have not been to city meetings. I've not, whatever, right? My knowledge of this situation has been once removed. So what if somebody wants to get more information outside of listening to the latest and greatest episode of the Son of the Law podcast, where would you direct people to get that information?
I would direct them, first off, Tosha puts out on our Facebook page. And this is the other frustrating thing. For 5 weeks, and I know that is insane, we have no new information to give, really.
Right.
But when we get that, Tosha puts it out on Facebook. I give a update to the board every month on where we are on not just this, but on all of our grants.
Sure.
And we provide that information to the Lawson Review.
Okay.
Now, I wish, we could, I'm thinking about a town crier.
Okay.
To walk the streets, but
maybe smoke signals. Is that what people are desiring these days?
And if anybody just wants to know, feel free to call us. We don't mind a phone call. Stop by. We don't care.
Yeah.
I'll be under my desk hiding, but it's okay.
Well, that's how I figured it out, right? I'm like, I got questions about this. I got an answer that I need an answer here. And I found you all to be nothing but welcoming and interested and willing. You came out from under your desk to come over to my house, and I'm glad you did.
My wife will tell you that I talk too much, but I will talk to anybody about this problem as long as they're, and this is how I feel. Pay me the respect of listening to what I'm telling you, because I promise you it's going to be the truth.
Yeah.
And I promise you that it may not be what you want to hear, but it's where we are. And I wish I had a magic wand and could get the railroad to say tomorrow or today that, yep, do it.
Yeah.
But I don't. So, let me tell you, man with the gold makes the golden rules.
Yeah.
They've got the gold.
Yeah. They've got a lot, right? They've got possession, they've got the land, right? They've got the
and there's a fairly common saying in government. The railroad owns from heaven to hell, above and below all of their tracks. So if you, as a utility, as a city that needs to replace a bridge, anybody that wants to go under or over any property owned by the railroad, it's a fight.
Mercy.
And that's the other thing, and I'm glad Tosha said that. Believe me when I tell you, we are not the only ones that fight this battle with the railroad.
Sure.
And it's just, every city administrator I come across, when I mention the railroad, their eyes roll and they go, oh my God.
So here's a great example for you. I did a short stint with United Fiber, and during that time, they were building out the city of Lawson. And anytime a utility such as United Fiber wants to go over or under a railroad, it is a $12,000 application fee. And if you are rejected, you don't get that application fee back. So as you can imagine, when the engineers that were designing the layout of the fiber internet coming into Lawson, they literally had a giant, probably 4-foot by 6-foot map up on the wall, and they were challenged with having to figure out how to lay out the entire town of Lawson to get fiber internet with the fewest amount of railroad crossings possible.
Sure.
And if you know how the railroad goes through all the way through this town, every which way, it was a challenge. And every single time that they applied to cross the railroad, it was $12,000.
Wow.
So, I mean, that just gives you a small snippet into the power that the railroad has over not just cities, but utilities as well.
Sure. Okay. So last question. What would you say to a community member who feels frustrated or left in the dark?
Well, first I would say that you should never feel left in the dark, because if there's any question you want to ask, all you can do is call, stop by.
Yeah.
Tosha is very good about trying to post things on Facebook. Stay positive. This is an amazing community. It's why I'm here, is because this is such an amazing community. Don't get so frustrated that you focus your anger towards the wrong place. Now, if you want to call the railroad, I'm all for you. But
I'm sitting here thinking, what if we put a petition together? What if we all mail the did an email campaign? I'm just kind of spitballing, thinking, oh man,
these are all things we have thought of,
right?
Yep.
Right.
No, we have, and again, I would say right now we're at the best place we have been with the railroad. So I'm waiting with bated breath for their reply, which should be any day.
And positive.
And I think it's going to be very positive, because the last meeting we had, they were they acquiesced on numerous points. They cut it down to just making the bridge big enough for 2 tracks, for one access road, which is already there.
Yep.
And they are even thinking about, well, once we pointed out, by the way, if you build a ditch there, all you're going to build is a bird bath, because the water flows away from there.
Right.
It's a very high point. They said, oh, well, that makes sense. And so they've kind of backed off on some of the things they're asking for.
Brilliant. All right. Any last words before we let everyone go?
First, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. And I mean that. I love it. My whole life has been about government. And the biggest frustrations are when the folks and the government don't talk. And I don't like that. I encourage people to come to our meetings where there's actually even a public comment section so they can ask questions.
Yeah.
Secondly is, we're going to get the best job done with what we have for this community to make it the shining star that I think it is. And what Tosha also said earlier about our school district rocks.
Yeah.
They're amazing. And we're bringing new homes to town. There's 10 being built right now.
Yep.
With that comes growth. And then the next thing that we start working towards is getting the grocery store that people want.
Okay, great. Let's go.
Then the next thing is, and this is another deal with MoDOT. MoDOT will make the ultimate decision on whether there's a roundabout at 69D.
You're speaking from my script, man. Yeah,
or whether there's a traffic signal there.
These are all hot takes, man.
Now I will tell you that MoDOT, the folks I talked to that came to the first meeting that said we want a red light, a traffic signal, felt like MoDOT was ignoring them and pushing them towards a roundabout. I don't know if that's true or not. I born and raised here, dude.
Right.
I remember when that intersection was 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The problem with roundabouts, and we had them in Branson, were they may reduce the amount, well, I shouldn't say the amount, the severity of accidents. They do not reduce the number of accidents, and they will cause you more of a traffic backup than what you have now, if that's what you're trying to solve, because people have to slow down to get through them.
So there's a hot take. And again, that was on Lawson announcements. I saw it. It was like, do you want a roundabout? Do you want a red light?
Yeah.
And there was, I think 200 or 300 comments on it.
I'm sure.
And each comment had different threads of different, and I read it all. It is fascinating.
Right.
Fascinating.
And on that topic, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody that came to that MoDOT input meeting, because I believe MoDOT had the impression that nobody would show up. And I think that they were truly blindsided by the number of people that came. They wanted to be informed, they wanted to share their opinion, and they wanted to be heard.
Sure.
And that's, I mean, really, that's all you can ask.
Sure.
You just want to be heard. And I was flabbergasted by the number of people that came, but I'm really, really glad they did.
Yeah.
Because
Amen. Yeah.
we preached for weeks leading up to that meeting that if you want this, if you want to have your voice heard, this is your opportunity.
Yep.
And
Well,
people came out in droves.
It's important.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everybody understands.
Yeah.
Like, this is a vital
and
intersection.
It's vital for so many reasons. And if you've been caught in it, at 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock and you're trying to turn left or south on 69
Takes
and
forever.
yeah. And I'm thinking this, my personal experience and is like others, but if you're trying to take your kids to the soccer fields, if you're trying to go to church, if you're trying to go get some gas, if you're trying to go to Apex, right? I mean, there's just all of the, you could sit there at that intersection for 5 minutes,
Yep.
sometimes 8 minutes,
Easily, yeah.
Yep.
and feel like you're not getting anywhere, and then you want to cuss the person in front of you for not going when you saw you could have gone or I could have made it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just crazy. All right, last question here. Appreciate all these hot takes. How do you PB and J?
Oat nut bread, crunchy peanut butter, and strawberry preserves.
Let's go.
Real strawberry
You were like
preserves.
ready with that answer.
I
Thank
do
you.
not like wimpy white bread. Wimpy white bread is useless to me.
Okay,
I like bread with good substance.
let's go. Fiber in it.
I use the same bread,
The oat nut.
oat nut. It's delicious. And I have to have my extra crunchy peanut butter.
Extra crunchy.
I have to have my strawberry preserves. And I like to have a slice of ham on it.
What?
Okay, I was
You had
with
me
you.
until the ham.
I was with you. I think people might question you as our city administrator now, Stan. I don't know about that.
I've told everybody that I've met that I'm insane. I just want you to know that up front. I am crazy.
Oh, I
So,
love it. I love
This
it.
solidifies that.
It certainly does. It certainly does. All right. Thank you again for coming on the show today. I really do appreciate it. To your point about your frustration with government officials not being accessible, not being willing to share, you've done an awesome job here. I think being as transparent as possible. And I've learned a lot. I hope our listeners have learned a lot. And we'll check back in.
We'll be here.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. This has been the Son of the Law podcast. Have a great day.